Hey friend, welcome to BB Time.
This is our second episode of BB Time. I'm really excited. I think we're going to cover a really cool topic, Nico, but tell us a bit about what this second episode is about.
Today we want to break down the concept of the funnel and we're going to see how to create a customer-centric funnel. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, basically, when we talk about funnels, we can talk about marketing funnels, we can talk about sales funnels, right? Now, there's a lot of talk about the funnel.
For service, onboarding, repeat purchase, and success.
Exactly. So there are several types of funnels being discussed. That can sometimes cause a lot of confusion. But anyway, Nico, I suggest we call Sebas, an expert from P, so he can share his opinion on this topic.
Let's see what Sebas has to say.
Hello. Hi guys. Glad to be part of this episode. For me, the marketing funnel is the process that describes the customer's journey from the moment they learn about a product or service until they make a purchase. It's like a funnel that's divided into three parts. We have the top, middle, and bottom of the funnel. At the top are the customers who are just discovering their need. In the middle are those who have already started the process of looking for options. And at the end of the funnel, it's ensured that the lead can be accepted by the sales department.
Nico, Sebas's answer was really cool. I think it aligns very well with what we think about marketing funnels. But today, with Nico, we really want to break down the funnel a bit more. And more than just breaking it down, we want to look at the entire customer journey, not just from the marketing side, but also how marketing should support the different stages of the user experience. That is not just marketing, but also sales, service, and loyalty departments.
Now, I really think this is where the crux of the matter lies. Because traditionally in the past, sales and marketing were treated as completely separate functions, right? This is because before the advent of digital marketing, there was no reliable way to directly attribute every single outcome, and I think that's the fundamental reason why sales and marketing were separated. But now, in the digital world, where our brand can have contact at every point of the customer journey, absolutely everyone, then why shouldn't marketing help improve the KPIs of each area? Sales, marketing, service, onboarding, and customer success. In what way? Well, in the end, brand communication happens through various channels, and if we do it right, we'll achieve better customer loyalty, which will ultimately turn them into evangelists. So I think that's the shift. The goal of marketing is no longer just to bring in leads, but to create fans of the brand.
The brand, we can't just stop at the lead anymore, because I think marketing should encompass the entire user journey. So to recap a bit, the user arrives, as Sebastian was telling us, there's an interest, or they're just now discovering their need, they develop an interest, and then, well, they become a lead. At that point, do they move over to the sales department, right? Usually there's a CRM, and the sales team starts to manage it.
That's another funnel, also called the sales funnel.
So this sales funnel begins. Nicholas, in our company, it's been really helpful for us to work closely with the sales department and support them from the marketing side to help push our client through this sales funnel, right? Now our client has converted. They're already a client. So what comes next? What comes next with the marketing department?
But you mean they've converted, they've already bought, they're already a
client. So is the marketing work done now? Is that correct?
Well, it depends on the company, and we continue working with them. If you're, let's say, a SaaS company, then it would be onboarding, making sure that this client starts using your product correctly and achieves their goals so that they'll renew with you next year and don't
see
a waste of money that they invested in a platform that no one knows how to use and that no one has used in the last year.
Clearly, it's a matter of customer satisfaction, a support from the marketing department to ensure that the user's experience with the product or service is satisfactory.
And there's another big issue, and that's that, let's say we've just talked about the good things, but there's a scenario that nobody wants to experience, which is when marketing is bringing in leads and sales says those leads are useless to them. I don't know how many of you have been in that situation, in that conflict. I think it's
something that happens a lot, and I think many people here will relate to it. All right, Nico, let's move on to the second stage and dig deeper into this topic.
All right.
Sounds good.
Well, Miguel, there's something I've seen on social media, everywhere, on LinkedIn, and it's the idea that a lot of people are saying the funnel is no longer useful, that it's obsolete. What do you think about that?
Well, the funnel. I think the funnel has always included several parts, both the marketing side, like the marketing funnel, and the sales funnel. And right now, we're working a lot with the service or loyalty funnel, cross-selling. Let's say it has several parts, right? For me, it's not obsolete. I think there are many ways to say the same thing.
Here's the main point, and it's that I think marketing started to take on sales tasks, right? It began to support, let's say, tasks that used to belong only to the sales department. And I also think that as businesses become more digitalized, marketing now has the ability to support the onboarding service as well. Why? Because we recently realized that the best way to increase my company's profit is by retaining my clients, not by looking for new ones.
Of course, it's much more cost effective to retain a client, to work with them from the service area, than to be constantly searching for new clients or doing cross-selling or introducing new products and services to an existing client. It's much more economical. That's why, for this reason, we believe that the marketing department can't just limit itself to bringing leads to the sales team, but should be involved throughout the entire customer cycle, right? Which in the end is a cyclical cycle, because
it's a customer life cycle. And why is it called a cycle? I think that's where the confusion comes from, the confusion about whether it's really a cycle. That's why the funnel
is considered to be flat, because it simply ends and that's it. It's completely over and then it's over. But the question is, how do we work with it? The cycle eventually ends and then it starts all over again.
Yes, although more than just starting over, I think our cycle is a cycle. And let me clarify. Our funnel is what we call an expanded funnel, in the sense that a customer starts a journey but never truly finishes it. This is because if the marketing department expands its scope beyond just marketing to also include sales and what is referred to as customer service, then doesn't that entire funnel also become much bigger as a result? In this expanded model, marketing is no longer just about itself. Instead, it actively supports all of these other business areas, and they're all aiming for what exactly?
Greater
profit for the company, right?
A better customer experience.
Creating brand evangelists.
The idea is that the marketing department has a mission that goes beyond just bringing in qualified leads.
Exactly.
Right. And the sales department, because I think that's where a pretty big problem comes up that we've seen. The marketing department versus the sales department, or the sales department versus the production department, where the client isn't being taken care of properly and the client is complaining to me. That problem always comes up between sales and the marketing department and the sales department. The sales team saying that lead is terrible, it's not a quality lead.
And marketing saying that sales isn't following up properly.
So that problem always comes up. And how do you think, let's say, that situation could start to improve? Or based on our experience, how can that relationship get better?
A key tip for me to improve that is lead nurturing, at least to solve it. The little problem between marketing and sales is solved by only passing the best leads to sales. But how does marketing know that? Only with lead nurturing, by knowing what actions each account took, when, and where. I'm sure about passing this lead along. Let's not just
qualify them by having a user scoring system and deciding at what point to pass them to sales. I think that's very important. Personally, Nico, I believe that one way for the sales, production, and marketing departments to integrate better and better is by truly understanding the user's needs. That the user is always at the center of everything, and by understanding the processes. That way, the marketing and sales departments can start to better align with our experiences. For example, we've had situations where the sales team comes to us and says, marketing, help us out. We need to close this client. What can we do? A wide variety of different materials and valuable tools are specifically created that provide direct support for the sales team, originating from the marketing side, all to make the process of closing deals considerably easier.
And now I'll also extend this to what I call onboarding, which we've referred to as service. For example, if we're talking about a SaaS type B2B company, the sale is made, and then what happens? The client is left on their own, never uses the product, doesn't know how to use it, and isn't aware of certain features. And that's where the customer success team comes in. So how does marketing support the customer success team? With educational remarketing, sending emails, with educational series, helping by asking them,
giving them information, informing them, information about the product, best practices, how to use it. Let's say that here, the marketing department should be thinking about the user so that at the end of the day, their life is easier.
And this brings us to another point, which is that if the customer is well educated, if they know how to use the platform better, in the end, we're reducing the impact on customer support, which is another huge pain point these days. We might have a good product, good positioning, strong sales, but when it comes to customer support, if there's a problem, the entire customer experience goes down the drain. So notice that if we do good marketing, good sales, and good onboarding, we're preventing the pain points that come at the end. It's customer experience, So it's like immediate pain and solutions that might take time, but in the end, they're going to solve the core of the business for us. So let's leave it there.
I think this topic is really cool. In the end, I think one conclusion from everything we've been talking about is that the marketing funnel has expanded all the way to customer loyalty and
Covers the entire customer
life cycle. Perfect. Well, Nico, we've reached this section on myths, and well, today we're talking about the expanded marketing funnel, what we've called it, which is a marketing funnel that, as we know and have discussed, covers the entire user journey.
Yes, customer life cycle.
Perfect. All right, Nico. First myth. Within a funnel, can users only enter from the top?
No, I actually think that they can also enter somewhere in the middle.
In the middle? Agreed. I think the topic has become very dynamic. BB users are generally very exceptionally knowledgeable and incredibly perceptive, wouldn't you say? They no longer simply, let's just say that nowadays they tend to look for their information in a multitude of different ways. Let's say the funnel can't be turned into something linear, right? We design them to be linear, but in the end, we allow users to enter from any point. What matters is that this lets us work with them within the funnel so we can eventually convert them into a customer.
Yes, and let me give you an example. Let's say a company is only running an SEO and organic strategy, right? And they've been sweet talking a buyer at a particular company for months. When the buyer is finally ready to search on Google, they go and Google it. Let's say they want to find 2 other companies to get quotes from, like we've talked about before, right? I already know who I want to work with, but I need 2 more quotes. And at that moment, while they're looking for those quotes, they come across.
With the bottom part of the funnel,
I didn't mean to say that, but that's another company's strategy. Another company that.
keep in mind, another company had already nurtured them and thoroughly educated them. Then, after all that, they simply performed a Google search and just like that, ended up at the very bottom of another client's conversion funnel.
Converted there and landed in the middle of your competitor's funnel. Of course, you spent a year warming up this lead with demand generation strategies, but the other company, which did have an ad campaign, captured that lead. So, what would have happened if you had also had a strategy in place to capture that lead that really belonged to you? So, that example to me,
I think it's an excellent example.
it makes me realize that they can come in from anywhere.
Come in from anywhere. And definitely not even with a single user can we think of it as a linear process because it's actually very complex and dynamic. Second myth. In the future, will there be only a marketing department throughout the entire customer lifecycle?
I think that's already the requirement today for marketing to be present throughout the entire customer lifecycle. But the question or the myth would be, will we stop needing the sales team or the loyalty team in the future? And will marketing take over all of that? Would you agree?
I think that currently there are still functions within the sales area and the service area that make the customer, let's say they use tools themselves that should actually be generated by the marketing department in order to survive. Yes, for example, when they are looking to develop their overall strategies, yes, that information should genuinely be coming from the marketing department and not simply from them. So for example, let me give you an example because this sounds very ambiguous. For instance, the sales department needs a brochure, right? So what do? Well, they create it themselves, right? They do it themselves. They take it.
Are you referring to, say, the loyalty department or the sales department? Yes, the
sales department. I'm alone because I don't have a marketing department supporting me.
Well, and just a note here, when we refer to the marketing department, we mean the content generation department.
Yes. I mean, marketing is basically a 360 of many things. For example, advertising campaigns, generating strategic content to support certain sales or service situations. And where
are the designers usually?
Of course, they're mainly in the marketing department. So the sales department is left alone creating a brochure for their client. So what many companies do is that the same company, the same sales department creates its own brochure and sells it. But then you look at the brochure afterwards and strategically, from a commercial standpoint, it's perfect because the sales team knows exactly what they're doing. But from a marketing perspective, visually, in terms of copy, it falls very short.
Yes, that's when we see those presentations that start off really well. And then halfway through, there's that slide the salesperson added. Of course, it's important for them to include that information, but it takes us out of the brand. And that's where I think you can see those fractures between marketing and sales. And loyalty and education too. But
so going back to the myth a bit, I think it's false that they're going to disappear. On the contrary, these areas, marketing in particular, are going to become more and more integrated with these other areas and will support them so their work is more focused on their main objective. What is the main objective of sales? To sell. It's not to create strategies, products, or let's say tools to be able to sell, right? The point is to sell, but who creates those tools for them? The marketing department. It's the same with the loyalty department. The loyalty department needs its customers to keep buying, to stay loyal, right? But then the one in charge of creating those tools to make that happen is the marketing department. So that's where we say the marketing department is involved throughout the entire cycle.
And here's another very important department, customer service. Because look, before, customer service was just what allowed us to know what was broken, what was damaged. It was basically where complaints and
Claims would go.
But now there's something else that marketing takes from customer service, and that's social media. Now, where do you complain when you really need someone to pay attention to you? For
example, X is an outstanding platform for complaints. Everyone complains when it goes down. Of course, the Bancolombia platform, everyone is there complaining.
And over there they respond and they have people dedicated to it. So as a user, you learn to go there directly because you know they won't answer you on the phone. And
there, the marketing department should be supporting not only because they are the ones who respond, but also because they need to look for strategies to make that process more customer focused, more efficient, and to generate sales.
You just said it should be customer centric, so I think marketing has to become customer centric, sales customer centric, everyone focused on the customer, and that way we'll retain them and have a successful business, which is what everyone wants. But if you notice,
what marketing does is bring all the areas together
so
that they focus on the customer. And now for myth number 3, the B2B funnel is supposedly dead. Many people are saying that it's become useless now, that it's obsolete, that it doesn't really work, and that this is no longer the approach that's being used.
Yes, I think it could be for 2 reasons. 1, because we already know the journey isn't linear, and 2, because there are many things we can't measure that can exist in a funnel. And today, attribution is a very complex topic, which we discussed in the previous episode. That's why I think people say the funnel is dead.
Yes, because the behavior of the B2B user is different from what we used to see many years ago or even just a while back. So, since it's so dynamic now, since it doesn't fit into the top anymore, since it's not so easy to measure, since it's an unexpected behavior, we end up saying we can't box them in. We basically can't box them into a funnel structure. And that's why I think we start hearing these kinds of comments, which for some people might be true, but I believe for us, the truth doesn't really exist. In other words, it might work for some, and I think we base our perspective on our own experience with these topics. So today we can say that, at least for us, the sales funnel or the marketing funnel or the full expanded funnel is not dead.
But why isn't it dead? And it is absolutely true. I have not yet been able to find another comparable methodology that allows us to systematically structure and organize these important ideas. These ideas, which in their initial stages are really just abstract tactics, possess a foundational concept, clear objectives, and are specifically aimed at a very particular buying committee. We have to organize these mental frameworks somehow, and the specific way we have learned to organize them is actually based on your particular segment, isn't that right? You need to consider your countries and your languages, and then what are your specific services and your main products. And also, who are the detailed buyer personas or the potential clients for them, and all of their many different variables, right? Because you have to remember that then there's the type of buyer who will say no, right? Examples from us here, manufacturing over there, retail over there, food over there, healthcare topics. So there are a lot of different things we have to organize, and the funnel helps me as a marketer to understand which of the 80,000 tactics we have are focused on demand generation, on demand capture, on helping to close, and which of everything we're doing is aimed at educating the end users.
It becomes a way to organize ourselves much better, a way to structure our tactics more effectively.
Yes, that is essentially how marketing has been done for a long time, and that is also how we do it, because honestly, I haven't found a better methodology up to this point. It has consistently worked for us, and I think there are 2 fundamental assumptions we make at TresP. The client must always be at the center of our focus, otherwise who are you really doing it for?
The client is always at the center, and the other thing is that tactics are divided within the funnel, because there are also people out there preaching that only demand generation matters, that it's the only thing that works, but paid advertising also plays a crucial role in all of this.
And that it's going to change a lot. And it's not just about paid ads. I would say it's about demand capture. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that for us, the funnel is always a buying cycle where you can always do upselling. And that's what I wanted to close with.
Perfect.
All right, Miguel. For this section called BB Time, the production team has selected some questions. And here I have a lottery drum where I will randomly pick one of them and read it to you. Ready? You have 30 seconds to answer.
Go.
First 5. Very good. The question is, what are the most key metrics that BB companies should track to measure the effectiveness of their funnel? 30 seconds.
Wow. For me, the most important are MQL, the cost of MQL, and the cost of SQL. It's tough. But if the sales department gives us information about sales, the cost of sales, what was actually sold, that's great. To achieve return on investment.
All right. I would also add, if possible, churn metrics and customer satisfaction metrics.
Of course, of all the marketing to have the
complete vision.
Perfect.
Okay, let's move on to the next question.
Come on, Nico.
For our first issue, how can business-to-business companies effectively develop a content strategy for each individual stage of the marketing funnel?
Well, basically, what I would do is understand and really understand the needs and pain points of the customer within the customer. Jory.
And so what you're saying is that you produce customized content for each touch point along that customer's journey.
Customer journey. This is true before meeting us in the initial sales area and also in the important post-sales part.
I totally agree.
All right, Nico. Third question. So let's take a moment to find out what the people in the audience are actually saying.
8. What practical advice can you offer a BB company looking to optimize its funnel and improve the customer experience?
Faster? Okay, that's an interesting thought. I would personally focus on developing a much better understanding of the customer. I would do this by conducting targeted surveys throughout their entire customer journey. So in other words, the goal is to really get to know them well by asking very specific, insightful questions. And by using that data, I can then effectively optimize my funnel.
I would add talking to sales. In addition to customers, also talk to sales because they always give us a lot of really good information about what they need to close deals.
Perfect. Yes, that is an excellent point to make, and it's absolutely essential to keep in mind. And with that thought, it appears we have now officially reached the end of this particular episode. What would be the conclusion of this topic?
I think the funnel isn't dead. The funnel has expanded.
It has indeed expanded throughout the entire customer lifecycle.
And what does that mean? What is the entire lifecycle? So I think that's where marketing, today's marketer, also needs to know about customer experience,
about sales,
about post-sales, about loyalty, things like what churn is, how to measure
that, measuring churn, measuring customer satisfaction. What for? To make sure the user stays, because for
what? Why do we want that here? Because
we know it's harder to get a
lead
from scratch than to retain them.
And look, right now, for example, all the venture capital, if you're not truly profitable anymore, it's going to be much harder. Because now, after the crises, we've all learned, the market in general has learned.
And there's a very important metric, Nico, which is lifetime value. I mean, how today's marketer or the marketer from before could say, let's improve lifetime? Value depended on other departments that he didn't have access to. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the marketing department to be involved throughout the entire customer cycle to improve that number. That's so important.
I think that's something we B2B marketers are missing. Just because it's very hard to measure or attribute doesn't mean we shouldn't try. We've officially reached the end of BB Time. Thank you so much to everyone who stayed and listened. If you don't follow us on YouTube yet, please do.
And also leave all your questions and doubts so we can answer them on this show.
The idea is not just for us to have a discussion here, but to talk with the community as well.
Let us know if you agree with what we're discussing, and I think that could really help us build on this very interesting topic of BB marketing.
That's BB Time.